Hey guys, I'm Saurav, and in this video I will be talking about camera modes. DSLRs provide us with different camera modes, and each and every camera mode has different set of features. In this video we will be looking at 5 main DSLR camera modes. Those are auto mode, program auto mode, shutter priority, aperture priority and manual mode. Before I proceed to the video, let me tell you that I'm going to make a Q&A video where I'm going to answer all your photography queries and doubts. So if you have any of them, drop them down in the comments below. So let's start talking about camera modes. So the first mode is the auto mode. Now auto mode, as the name suggests, is very simple. You just point your camera, take the image and that's it. All the settings like ISO, aperture, shutter speed, flash, white balance will be taken care by the camera. So you don't have to do any complex calculations. You do not have to think about any complex concepts like aperture and shutter speed. You just point the subject and voila, you get the image. So if you're a beginner, it might seem a bit tempting to switch to auto mode and take images, but if the light conditions are not ideal, sometimes the camera will find it tricky and might produce images which you would not expect by your DSLR. So the second mode is the program auto mode. Now program auto mode is basically auto mode on steroids, meaning basically the camera adjusts the shutter speed and aperture, but you get the flexibility to change the ISO, the white balance and the flash. So if you're in a situation where flash is not allowed, you can turn off the flash. If you want to shoot at a lower ISO, you can do that too. So you don't have this flexibility in auto mode, but you get that flexibility in program auto mode. Suppose you want to shoot at faster shutter speeds, then you can increase the ISO and the camera will automatically decrease the shutter speed and you can shoot at faster shutter speeds. So basically again you are restricted by the camera. Again, the camera is doing most of the guessing work, but you still have the flexibility to change certain things. So program auto mode is any day better than auto mode. So if you are a beginner and you're not confident to switch to semi-manual or manual modes, program auto mode should be your first step from auto mode. Now let's talk about the semi-manual modes. In semi-manual mode, the first mode is the aperture priority mode. In aperture priority mode, you get the flexibility to change the aperture. If you don't know what aperture is, I have a separate in-depth video about aperture. The link will be down in the description below. In a nutshell, if you want less depth of field, shoot at a higher aperture. If you want more depth of field, shoot at a lower aperture. So aperture priority mode works great because you just have to dial in the aperture you want to shoot at and you start shooting. Shutter speed will be taken care by the camera. And aperture priority mode is currently used by most of the professionals. If you want to shoot at a constant aperture, aperture priority mode is a very good mode to switch from auto mode, and it's basically a bit easy because aperture is a concept which is easier to understand. So if you are a beginner and you want to switch, I would recommend switching to aperture priority mode from the auto mode as soon as possible. The second semi-manual mode is the shutter priority mode. Now, the shutter priority mode is very much similar to aperture priority mode, but here you do not change the aperture, but you get the flexibility of changing the shutter speed. Now, if you don't know what shutter speed is, I again have a separate video on it, but in a nutshell, if you want to shoot at a faster shutter speed, you can use a shutter speed from 1,000th of a second to maybe 1/4000th of a second. If you want to capture motion blur, you can use a longer shutter speeds like 1 second, 10 seconds or even 30 seconds, and the aperture will be taken care by the camera. So even shutter priority mode is used by most of the sport photographers or wildlife photographers where they want to freeze the motion. So shutter priority mode is again a very good semi-manual mode, but I would still recommend using aperture priority mode because it is a bit easier to understand, and then once you get hold of shutter priority mode or even shutter speed, you can then switch to manual mode. Now talking about manual mode is the mode which is used by most of the professionals. Basically in manual mode you have complete control over all your settings, whether it be aperture, whether it be shutter speed, ISO, white balance, flash and everything. So if you want to shoot at a faster shutter speed but you want to change the depth of field, you can do that, which you can't do in any other mode. So you get complete control. Now explaining how to shoot in manual mode will be difficult to cover in this video, but do not worry, I have an in-depth video about manual mode too. So watch that video and you will have an idea about exposure triangle, light meter and how to dial the settings to get perfectly exposed images. Basically manual mode will allow you to shoot creative images and take control over all the settings so you get better images from your camera. So switching to manual mode might be difficult at the beginning, but it is always worth it. You just have to keep practicing, keep experimenting with different settings, and you will finally get hold of manual mode. So I hope you enjoyed the video guys, and again if you have any queries, drop them down in the comments below with the hashtag AskSaurav. I will talk to you guys in the next one. Bye.